Hello and welcome into another edition of The Final Drive here on DMVSTREAM.com. I'm Jeremy Huber. So glad to be with you on another Friday of high school football. Again, so much going on, and we'll have another great show for you tonight. Remember, if you want to get in touch with us here on The Final Drive, you can do it via Twitter. Tweet us at DMVStream and hashtag it with DMV Final Drive. Again, that's DMVStream, hashtag it with DMV Final Drive. We will be joined on the show tonight by three coaches whose teams are in the Washington Post Top 20 and another coach whose team may be in it by the start of next week. We will hear from Matt Griffiths, the head coach of Broad Run, his team with a big win over Centerville tonight. We'll talk to Coach Griffiths about that. Also tonight, we will check in with the head coach of the Northwest Jaguars, Mike Neubeiser, his team, with a quality win over Blair tonight. Also up on the show, we'll check in with Bruce Strunk, his Howard Lions, with a hard-fought win over River Hill in a Howard County matchup. And also on the show tonight, Jeremiah Ross, the head coach of the West Potomac Wolverines. We'll check in with him as well. His team with a win over Briarwood, sending the Falcons to 1-3 on the season and propelling the Wolverines of West Potomac to 3-0 on the season. But let's go ahead and start off with our top 25 in the All-Met Sports, top 20 that is, in the All-Met Sports top 20. And right at the top, it was DeMatha tonight. The Stags had some trouble with LaSalle of Pennsylvania, but they come through with flying colors, as Coach Elijah Brooks' team usually does. DeMatha wins it 32-12, scoring 4 second-half touchdowns. I believe they actually were trailing at the half in this one, but the Stags pull away late and get the big win, so they remain undefeated on the year. They'll move into WCAC play after the 2 wins over Florida powerhouses, Miami Central, also American Heritage down there, and then winning tonight against LaSalle. Number 2, Good Counsel, their idol. They'll play again next weekend as they face off at number 18, St. John's. Number 3, Damascus rolled again, routing Watkins Mill 42-8. It's number 4, Lake Braddock ran out to a 21-0 lead, then held on to beat Robinson 21-14. It was number 5, South County, in their spectacular offense, beating Hayfield 70-29 tonight. You got that right, 70-29. That's not the only big score we have on the night. We'll get another one for you coming up in just a second. Number 6, Westfield, coming back from their loss to South County last week. They're not nearly by that margin. The Bulldogs will take on T.C. Williams in a matchup tomorrow. Number 7, Ole Mill, they beat South River 41-6. That sets the Patriots up with a big matchup against fellow undefeated Arundel next week. Number 8, Duval, they're playing tomorrow against Parkdale. Number 9, Wise, they're in action tomorrow, and a pretty good one against Potomac of Maryland. That one will be played at Oxon Hill. The game we talked about a little bit earlier, number 16, Broad Run, beats Centerville 56-21. I believe I saw a stat that I believe from Brandon Parker of the Washington Post that Centerville hadn't lost to a non-public school or to a public school by more than a touchdown since 2012. Of course, on that list, Gonzaga, the loss to the Eagles last year that Gonzaga kind of pulled away from. Well, Broad Run dominant tonight as they beat Centerville 56-21. Also, Loudoun County team with a good showing tonight is number 11, Tuscarora, beat Oakton 28-14. Tuskegee quarterback Daniel Smith, 3 total touchdowns in that matchup. We told you we had a high-scoring contest, and boy, did we tonight at Bullis. Number 12, Bullis, falls to Woodbury Forest of Central Virginia, 66-65 in overtime. Woodbury actually had a 10-point lead pretty late in this one. Bullis able to erase it, and then the Tigers of Woodbury Forest able to go ahead and get the win over Bullis, 66-65 in a shootout in Maryland tonight. Number 13, Seneca Valley over Churchill, 50-0. It was Northwest over Blair, 58-23. Number 15, Battlefield beat Riverbend 13-10. Number 17, Quince Orchard over Wooten, 41-0. Number 18, St. John's, as we told you earlier, they take on Good Counsel next week, have a bye this week. Number 19, Howard, a winner over River Hill, 28-17. And also number 20, Stonebridge, victorious tonight as they knocked off Chantilly by a count of 42-28. That's a look at your top 20 in the area. Of course, a lot. Not that many upsets, not nearly as many as last week, but still some pretty good games. And we did have one upset again at Broad Run matchup against Centerville earlier on tonight. Joined now by the head coach of the Broad Run Spartans, Matt Griffiths. His team with a big win tonight, knocking off Centerville in a battle of top 20 teams, 56-21. Coach Griffiths, congratulations on the big win, and thanks for joining us on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me, Jeremy. Appreciate it.
It's funny, Coach. I have a buddy of mine that coaches. I used to coach youth football with, and he teaches in the Loudoun County area as you do. And we were talking about the local teams, and he said to me, "Yeah, I'm hearing that Broad Run might be the most talented team in the area." And I was like, you sure about that?" Well, it feels like your guys maybe proving that tonight. Talk about what was really a spectacular performance against a really good Centerville team.
Yeah, well, we played a complete game tonight, and all three facets came up huge. We started the game, we kicked the ball to them and forced a fumble right away, and we capitalized within, I think, 2 plays. Our O-line did a great job. I think we rushed for about 480 yards, which is pretty daggone good against a team of Centerville's caliber. Demetrius Embry, our running back, did a great job. I think he rushed for about 250, and our quarterback, Kyle Brick, did a great job with his zone read tonight and making the correct reads and pull the ball. And then our O-line, like I said, did a tremendous job, and our receivers did a great job blocking too. And like I said, all three facets, our defense came up huge. They really stuck to it. Centerville runs, hard-nosed offense. They want to pound you into submission, and our guys just handled the blows and did a great job.
Yeah, it's funny. Brandon Parker, the great writer for All Met Sports and the Washington Post, he had it in the fourth quarter that you guys had run for 454 at that point, and all your yards had come on the ground. I guess one of my questions would have to be, against a Centerville team that runs the ball, I guess it's one thing to do that against a spread team that doesn't practice against it, but Centerville practices against the run. How proud of you that your team was able to put up that much yardage on a good opponent, that the running game kind of is their bag?
It's like I said, the O-linemen have really gelled. Earlier in the year, there were 4 of our 5 guys were first-time starters on offense on the O-line position, so they were a little raw. But they've really come together. They work hard every day in practice, and they've done a great job. Like I said, our running backs did a great job making guys miss and then running through tackles. And on the outside, our receivers did a great job blocking. It got to the point in time of the game where, when we got a lead, we were running the ball so effectively. Yeah, I like to throw the ball. Trust me, I can throw the ball as much as anybody. But when you are running the ball as effectively as we were, why not keep running it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you talk about Meach Embry had the 5 touchdowns today. She said over 250
and
yards.
Interception.
Yeah.
And interception on defense.
Talk about him obviously kind of coming on the scene for you guys and breaking out in this way.
It's not a surprise at all. Last year he was a sophomore and he was very, very talented. We had some senior running backs that, it was their turn and Meach got his reps, and when he got his opportunity, he made the most of them, and Meach also started on defense for us. He's a two-way starter, and I would say he didn't play. He missed about a quarter and a half to cramp in the second half, so he had most of those yards in about 2.5 quarters.
Coach, obviously you had a great quarterback last year in Brady Wright, so it kind of was the center of what you did. You got Kyle Brickert, a guy who, known for his lacrosse plays, committed to go play at Maryland, but obviously athletics got some things. What does he bring to your offense this year?
He brings, he's an excitable kid. I mean, he's a competitor through and through. He does a really nice job reading. Again, a kid who's really matured as the years gone on, just the 4 games. He is a very talented lacrosse player, and he's been waiting his turn, and he had a great game today. We asked him to do a lot. I mean, we asked him to do a lot as quarterback, and he's done a tremendous job taking that on.
Coach, we'd be remiss if we didn't ask you about the fact that you had the delay with your field this year, so it forced you to play a bunch of games on the road. Talk about that situation and maybe give the fans an update on when you guys are expected to get back on your home field in Ashburn.
Well, if we keep it up, we don't want to play a game at home ever. It's been awesome because our fan base has really taken to this, of taking the show on the road every Friday night to party at wherever we're having a game at. That's kind of the motto of the kids, and it's been a lot of fun because our fan base has been awesome at these games. The Maroon Crew's been fantastic, and it's fun, playing on the road. I told the kids at the beginning of the year, it's all about attitude. We can sit there and we can whine about playing 8 away games, or we can celebrate it and say, hey, that's an opportunity for more people outside of Ashford to see us play football. And so it's been a really cool experience taking the show on the road.
Most definitely. Matt Griffiths, the head coach of the Broad Run Spartans, joining us here on the final drive. They had a big win tonight over Centerville. And again, it's so funny, Coach, considering the conference you're in, and then you have so many games against the old Concord district as well. So it's a very tough schedule. You face off with Briarwoods next week. They lost tonight in a close one to West Potomac. They're your crosstown rival. I know it's very early, but talk a bit about facing off with a quality opponent in the Falcons.
Coach Pierce always does a tremendous job coaching his teams. They have tradition there. We've played some great ball games with them, so it'll be a fun contest. And you can look at records all you want, and I know it sounds cliche, but when you play a crosstown rival, the records go out the window, and anything could happen. So our kids will be focused. They'll be excited for this opportunity next Friday night. We're gonna enjoy this one for now. Until tomorrow at 9 to start looking there next week.
As very well you should, Coach. And one more will get you out of here. And I asked this one of Mike Burnett, the Tuscarora coach, a few weeks ago, and asked him a little about Loudoun County football. I know you've been in Loudoun County football actually since I was playing, almost, when you're back with Coach Thompson at Parkview and then with him at Stonebridge. And obviously
right.
you got a connection to him. You got a connection to some of the other guys. How much pride do you feel now, the fact that, Tuscarora gets a big win over Oakton tonight, some of the other schools as well, playing well against some of the other Fairfax and area teams? How proud are you of what Loudoun County football has become at this point, where they can play with anybody and beat anybody in the area?
Yeah, I think it starts with our youth leagues. I think our youth leagues do a great job of preparing our kids and getting them ready for high school. And, we have a great county where kids want to play football and compete. And, it is good. It's great to see all the Loudoun schools be successful. I like putting Loudoun County on the map. It's been there for quite a few years. You look at the string of teams that have played in state championships since 2007, and before that, just winning state championships since 2007, and then prior to that, playing state championships. Loudoun County's got great football, and that's why every year we play a tough schedule here at Broad Run every year. That's great.
Yeah, and obviously it has prepared you very well as your 16th ranked Spartans beat 10th ranked Centerville tonight, 56-21. Head coach Matt Griffiths, thanks so much for joining us on the show, and congratulations.
Thanks so much, Jeremy.
Again, Matt Griffiths, the head coach of the Broad Run Spartans. The Spartans with a 56-21 win over Centerville tonight. Again, a really emphatic victory for a talented Broad Run team. I think a lot of folks thought in their district, Stonebridge is in that district, Briarwoods in that district, Tuscarora in that district. A lot of folks may have thought that Broad Run might have been at the bottom of that district. And you throw in Potomac Falls, who seems to be thrashing a lot of teams they've been facing off with so far this year, put up another big output tonight. But that Broad Run team, a very talented squad. It'll be an interesting, those bigger schools in Loudoun County going to have something to say about the playoff race when it is all said and done in Virginia. Again, this is the final drive. I'm Jeremy Huber. Want to go ahead and get at us? Do it via Twitter at DMVStream. Hashtag it with DMV Final Drive. Again, that's DMVStream. Hashtag it with DMV Final Drive. We'll be back with more after this here on the Final Drive. Joined now by the head coach. Looking for some of the best barbecue in the area? Well, then come on down to Monk's. Monk's Barbecue has all your favorites: delicious pulled pork, tender, moist brisket, and dry rubbed ribs that just fall off the bone, as well as specialty items like pulled chicken, pastrami, and Kansas City burnt ends. Add in delicious sides like Monk's special baked beans, smoked Gouda mac and cheese, vinegar coleslaw, and many more, and you can't get any better. That's Monk's Barbecue in the heart of Loudoun County, online at monksq.com. That's monks and the letter Q.com. And go to their Facebook page to find out more about their live music and drinks.
DMVSTREAM.com produces live broadcasts for professional, semi-pro, and amateur sporting events, as well as colleges, universities, high schools, AAU, and youth tournaments in the Mid-Atlantic. With a client list that includes ESPN, The Washington Post, Monumental Sports Network, CBS.com, USAFootball.com, USLacrosse.org, NCAA.com, the National Federation of High School Sports, and Georgetown University, among others, Synthesis Multimedia has emerged as the Mid-Atlantic's top provider of sports multimedia. Contact us today to learn more about streaming your events live.
Are you a fan of high school sports? Does high school sports attract the type of customers you want for your business? If so, then consider advertising here on The Final Drive. The Final Drive on DMVSTREAM.COM is a weekly show dedicated to high school football in the District, Maryland, and Virginia. We update scores and talk to the movers and shakers from Friday night's top games, and we preview the big matchups from Saturday's action. So consider being a part of The Final Drive. For more information about advertising on The Final Drive, contact Jeremy Huber at jrh0001@gmail.com. That's jrh0001@gmail.com. Montgomery Shade and Awning is a third-generation family business that sells and installs shade systems utilizing awnings and canopies. They specialize in both commercial and residential awnings and have been serving Northern Virginia since 1975. So check out what Rob, Lewis, Brian, and Tom can do for you. Montgomery Shade and Awning. Call 1-800-300-1941 or find them online at montgomeryawning.com. And welcome back into The Final Drive. Jeremy Huber with you here on DMVSTREAM.com. Again, thank you so much for joining us here on the show. Again, we do this every Friday night to talk a little high school football, get you up to date on what's going on in the area, give you the scores, give you the interviews as well. Some top guys. Again, we already heard from the head coach of Broad Run, Matt Griffiths, his team with a 56-21 win over Centerville. Again, kind of showing that the Spartans are for real when it comes to football in the Virginia area. Griffiths' team getting it done with a big win tonight. Let's go ahead. We took a look at the top 20 in the All-Met Sports Poll. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the scores in D.C. and Maryland, also some of your private schools as well. Avalon getting a win. They've had some tough ones over the last few weeks, but Avalon beats Liberty Christian, went on the road to do it, knocking out the Lynchburg-based squad 21-11 tonight. Bishop Ireton stayed undefeated 62-29 over St. Albans tonight. St. Mary's of Annapolis with a win over Delmar 27-25. It was Pilati falling to John Carroll tonight 49-26. Another private school action. Loyola Blakefield beat Landon 19-14. Spalding with a pretty nice win tonight as they beat Riverdale Baptist 47-7. Again, Riverdale coming off that win over Douglas last week. Riverdale fell first game of the season against McNamara, but Spalding may be showing they're for real in the MIAA as they get the big 40-point win over a quality Riverdale Baptist team. St. Stephen's St. Agnes, a 30-0 win over Severn School today. In D.C., Ballou over McKinley tonight, 42-13. Jamal Speaks for Ballou, 4 touchdown runs, has 9 on the season. Bell with a big win as they beat Anacostia 18-14. Of course, remember Anacostia in the Stars while Bell in the Stripes. But Bell playing some of their best football as they beat Anacostia tonight by 4. Coolidge over Theodore Roosevelt tonight, 34-0. Dunbar over Phelps big, 56-0. Wilson all over Eastern tonight, 38-0. Cesar Chavez over Cardoza, 53-7. Some public-private action in Virginia as John Paul the Great beat Riverside 45-12. Over in Maryland, Reservoir win over Athelton 24-14. It was Clarksburg over Bethesda Chevy Chase 47-12. Broadneck a winner tonight as they beat Annapolis 41-16, handing the Panthers their first loss of the season. Chris Watts for Broadneck, wide receiver, had 3 touchdowns in the contest. Of course, Broadneck, again, they actually went down in that one 8-0, then roared back to outscore Annapolis 41-8 rest of the way, and outscored Annapolis in the second half 24-8. North Point over Calvert tonight 34-19. Arundel over Chesapeake 48-8. It was Glen Elg over Wild Lake 15-11. Hammond beat Mount Hebron 30-3. Northern over La Plata 36-17. Lackey over St. Charles 13-7. Cortera Simpson for Lackey had 116 yards receiving and an 86-yard interception return touchdown. Sherwood stays undefeated. They beat Magruder 48-29. Got a big one coming up in a few weeks against Northwest. Marriott's Ridge over Longreach 21-0. Chopticon over McDonough 27-7. It was Meade over North County 19-12. That's Meade's first win of the year. Remember, their head coach Rich Holzer leaving in the offseason for Mount St. Joe's. Meade finally getting in the win column tonight. Oakland Mills over Centennial 48-6. It was Paint Branch with a close one against Gaithersburg 21-13. Patuxent over Great Mills tonight 43-0. That's the 100th career win for Steve Krause, the head coach of Patuxent. Richard Montgomery knocked off Rockville 54-26. It was Severna Park in a close one over Glen Burnie 7-6. Northeast over Southern 19-14. Springbrook beat Northwood 56-18 tonight. It was Thomas Stone over Leonardtown 41-0. Walter Johnson edged Kennedy 22-19. Westlake over Huntingtown 40-3. Blake over Wheaton 36-14. Whitman knocked off Einstein in a high-scoring matchup 54-41. Poolsville beat Winners Mill 24-13. That's your look at Maryland. Of course, we mentioned earlier that Northwest bounced back from their loss to Seneca Valley last week as the Jaguars, 14th ranked in the area, beat a pretty quality Blair team tonight 58-23. Well, had a chance to catch up earlier on with the head coach of the Northwest Jaguars and talk about their big win. Joined now by the head coach of the Northwest Jaguars, Mike Neubeiser, his team with a win over Blair tonight. The Jaguars getting it done. Coach Neubeiser, first off, congratulations on the win.
Thank you, Jeremy. Appreciate it.
Obviously, you guys come off the loss to Damascus tonight. Yeah, last week that is, you had a game against a Blair team that made the playoffs last year. Did you feel your kids kind of came out with that kind of fire in their bellies from the fact that they had taken the loss last week and then they had a good team on their plate this week?
Yes, the kids were determined. They had a good week of practice, and we were able to limit our mistakes. Is the biggest thing. We've been kind of shooting ourselves in the foot the last 2 weeks with just penalties at inopportune times and turnovers and whatnot, and so we were able to limit penalties and continue drives and then make some big plays. So it was an improvement for us.
Who are some of the guys that stood out for you tonight on the offensive end? Obviously, last week you only had the 7 points. This week you put up 58 against a pretty quality Blair opponent. Some guys had pretty good nights, correct?
Yes. I'd say Reggie Anderson had 3 touchdowns for us receiving. Did an excellent job. Alfonso Frey had 2 receiving touchdowns, and Juan Free had a rushing touchdown, I believe. And then we had two pick sixes on defense. Martin Foray had 1, and Ibrahim Kanate had a pick six. So scoring on defense always helps.
Obviously, and from looking at following the game a bit on Twitter, you guys ran out to a pretty big lead, and then Blair, to their credit, fought back and made a game of it. I believe in the third quarter, got some onside kicks, a couple things like that. Did you feel at all your kids waver a little bit when things started going against you, almost snowballing a bit downhill?
I think we were frustrated, but they weren't wavering anyway. I think they always felt like we could get it done. It was just it was a little scary there for a second with the turnovers, but Blair does a good job. Their offense was effective, and they throw the ball down the field, and they have good speed. They're receivers, and their kickoff team was giving us some issues. I think we fumbled 3 balls on kickoff return, so they onside kicked pretty good and got us pretty good at that.
Looking back a bit, Coach, obviously you've got a guy under center, Mark Pierce, who's been with you as the quarterback in your 2 state championship teams the last 2 years. As a senior now, what is he bringing to this squad when it comes to leadership, obviously, and also talent?
I think he's been able to steady us a little bit offensively. Kids, if a guy messes up that hasn't been there, he's able to talk to him and get it figured out. And then today we worked on speeding things up, and so having him to helm me, can really, really speed things up and get like a warp speed type offense. That was helpful for us tonight.
Again, talking to Mike Neubeiser, the head coach of the Northwest Jaguars, getting a win tonight over Meade. Big one for his Jaguar team. Obviously, Coach, just 3 games in, you've kind of had the ups and downs already with the win over Gaithersburg to start, the loss to Seneca Valley, and the win tonight over Blair. Obviously, you've got some big games down the road. Quince Orchard a ways away, Clarksburg a ways away. Obviously, Sherwood coming up in 2 weeks. How do you kind of approach things going forward as you build? It seems like this year for you guys, maybe is it a bit tougher schedule than maybe you've seen in the last few years?
It is. It's a tougher schedule we face since I've been head coach, and we face a lot of really good teams. It doesn't let up, and so we just got to keep improving. We're a young team. We didn't have a lot of experience going back, so it's just been a matter of ironing things out and being able to perform. Just do your job. Just want everybody doing their job and not lining up incorrectly or stepping off sides or all the other mistakes we've made the last few weeks. So, we're going to have to play mistakes through football in some of these big games, the Sherwood and Quince Orchard. And, it's not easy. So, it gets tougher as we go down the road.
One more for you, Coach. We'll let you go. And obviously, you talk about being a tougher schedule this year. But in a sense, as a coach, is it nice, not the fact you've got so many tough teams, but the fact that maybe motivation may not be as big of a key where you're saying, having this look, where you wouldn't say this, but having your kids think, man, these guys are pushovers, these are patsies. It seems like this schedule, because of the way it kind of breaks down, you're going to have these guys' attention all year long because of the quality opponents you face, correct?
Yes, and I think that will definitely be helpful, as you said. I think the other thing is it prepares you for the playoffs. We've had some patches where you only play 1 or 2 really, really difficult opponents. Even last year, I don't think we punted until week 5 last year. So, having your backs against the wall the whole season, it really does prepare you for the tough playoffs. And, as you get deep into the playoffs, it's really important.
Well, obviously, Coach Neubeiser, you've been through the battles in those playoffs with your team. I'm sure you're going to be gunning for another one this year. Congratulations, your 58-23 win over Blair tonight. Thanks so much for joining us on the show.
All right, thanks a lot. Take care.
Mike Neubeiser, again, the head coach of Northwest, with a big win over Blair tonight, a bounce-back win after kind of being held in check last week by a pretty good Seneca Valley team, only scoring 7 points. I know Coach Neubeiser and his explosive offense not very happy with that output. Obviously, close to 60 points tonight, a little bit closer to what they are used to. Again, want to reach out to us, do it. Tweet us at DMVStream, hashtag it with DMV Final Drive. Again, that's DMVStream, hashtag it with DMV Final Drive. Well, stay tuned after this. We're going to catch up on all the action over in Virginia as we'll get you all the scores from the Commonwealth. We'll also hear from head coach of West Potomac, Jeremiah Ross, his team with a big win tonight, knocking off Briar Woods by 2 points on a blocked field goal late in the game. So we'll hear all about that one. Jeremiah Ross, head coach of the West Potomac Wolverines. He's coming up. Also, your complete scoreboard from Virginia. It's all after this right here on the Final Drive. Looking for some of the best barbecue in the area? Well, then come on down to Monk's. Monk's Barbecue has all your favorites. Delicious pulled pork, tender, moist brisket, and dry rub ribs that just fall off the bone, as well as specialty items like pulled chicken, pastrami, and Kansas City burnt ends. Add in delicious sides like Monk's special baked beans, smoked Gouda mac and cheese, vinegar coleslaw, and many more, and you can't get any better. That's Monk's Barbecue in the heart of Loudoun County, online at monksq.com. That's monks in the letter Q.com. And go to their Facebook page to find out more about their live music and drinks.
DMVSTREAM.com produces live broadcasts for professional, semi-pro, and amateur sporting events, as well as colleges, universities, high schools, AAU, and youth tournaments in the Mid-Atlantic. With a client list that includes ESPN, The Washington Post, Monumental Sports Network, CBS.com, USAFootball.com, USLacrosse.org, NCAA.com, the National Federation of High School Sports, and Georgetown University, among others, Synthesis Multimedia has emerged as the Mid-Atlantic's top provider of sports multimedia. Contact us today to learn more about streaming your events live.
Are you a fan of high school sports? Does high school sports attract the type of customers you want for your business? If so, then consider advertising here on the Final Drive. The Final Drive on DMVSTREAM.com is a weekly show dedicated to high school football in the District, Maryland, and Virginia. We update scores and talk to the movers and shakers from Friday night's top games, and we preview the big matchups from Saturday's action. So consider being a part of the Final Drive. For more information about advertising on the Final Drive, contact Jeremy Huber at jrh0001@gmail.com. That's jrh0001@gmail.com. Montgomery Shade and Awning is a third-generation family business that sells and installs shade systems utilizing awnings and canopies. They specialize in both commercial and residential awnings and have been serving Northern Virginia since 1975. So check out what Rob, Lewis, Brian, and Tom can do for you. Montgomery Shade and Awning. Call 1-800-300-1941 or find them online at montgomeryawning.com. Welcome back into the Final Drive. Jeremy Huber here, taking you through the hour of power here on the show. Lots of stuff going on. Already heard from Matt Griffiths, head coach of the Broad Run Spartans. Their upset, and really a resounding upset of Centerville tonight, 56-21. Spartans get the win. Also hearing from Mike Neubeiser, his 14th-ranked Jaguars will win tonight over a solid team in Blair, getting the victory there. Well, got to get you up to date on all the Virginia action. Got you up to date on the Virginia action from the top 20. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of it. Annandale winner tonight, knocking off Stewart 37-17. Woodgrove with a big win over Dominion, their conference rival. Remember, Woodgrove got beat to start the year by John Champ. Bit of an upset. People thought Champ a better team this year. Didn't think they'd be able to knock off Woodgrove. They did. Woodgrove with another game was supposed to be competitive tonight, but the Wolverines bearing their fangs as they beat Dominion 40-0 tonight in Purcellville. W.T. Woodson, a winner over Fairfax, 36-25. It was Herndon over Falls Church, 28-14. Forest Park beat Stonewall Jackson, 50-20. Heritage moves to 4-0 on the season, beating Freedom of South Riding, 47-7. So, of course, Reed Prosser, heard from him last week. His Pride moving to 4-0 on the season. Also tonight, congratulations to former Redskins All-Pro tackle Chris Samuels, who's the head coach of the Osborne squad, as Osborne gets the win 60-30 tonight. Osborne with the victory over Garfield. So Chris Samuels getting his first win as the head coach of Osborne. Congratulations to the Eagles' new head coach. Hilton with a win over Osborne Park, 40-0. Potomac Falls over Langley tonight, 26-6. It was Champ over Loudoun Valley, 40-13. Luray knocked off George Mason, 12-7. Madison beat McLean, 30-0. And also it was Marshall with a win over Edison, 30-20. Massaponax over Freedom of Woodbridge, 48-20. Mount Vernon victorious over Jefferson, 40-18. Rockridge gets their second win of the season. Bit of a surprising one as they beat Parkview 26-21. It was South Lakes over Yorktown, 25-14. Brentsville, staying undefeated on the year. They beat Warren County 28-14. It was Wakefield over Washington Lee tonight, 13-0. Elsewhere, West Springfield over Lee, 34-7. Woodbridge with a big win over Patriot, winning 48-7. Kyrie Campbell, the North Carolina commit on the defensive line, had 2 interceptions on the night. And one of the ones on the edges of the top 20, it was West Potomac moving to 3-0 on the season as they knocked off Briar Woods by a count of 29-27. Wolverines getting the win in that one as they block a field goal late against Briar Woods to preserve the victory, a hard-earned one to move them to 3-0 on the season and drop Briar Woods to 1-3 on the season. Joined now by the head coach of the West Potomac Wolverines, Jeremiah Ross. His team with a big win tonight, knocking off Briar Woods 29-27. Coach Ross, first off, congratulations on the big win.
Oh, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Well, let's start at the end, Coach. If my Twitter is correct, you guys go ahead and preserve this one. Was it on a blocked field goal that gave you guys the victory? If that's true, I guess how'd you go about getting the block kick?
I mean, really, we just, it's the same thing with Paris all the time. It's our regulators team. We put them on the flight line, and guys rushed hard. And I don't know if they might have botched the handle a little bit, but they still got the kickoff, and our guys were able to make some penetration through on the flight line and got a big block coming off the edge. So big play by our special teams.
Most definitely to preserve the win, though. It seemed like you guys kind of, I won't say had your way there, but you definitely were kind of ahead. It seemed like most of the game kept kind of getting up. Briarwoods might catch a bit up to you. Talk a bit about how your team kind of came out maybe in attack mode tonight and really came out and took it to the Falcons a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of our mentality. I mean, we're going to press the tempo offensively. We're going to pressure on defense. And, we just, I'm really proud of our team, man. They every play, whether it was good or bad, they kept back and playing. Briarwood would come back, and our guys just wouldn't let go, So when it seemed like maybe they had the momentum, we, offense would take the ball down the field and make a big play and score. And then, defense would make the stops when they needed to. Our guys just kept standing up and making the plays. And that's a good team. They got some really good players, and, they're getting better and better each week. We knew it was going to be a fight, and, just proud of our guys. It was a great team win.
Of course, defensively, you guys able to hold up against the team, and they've had their struggles, but they've also looked good in some spots. Talk a little bit about your defense and able to make the plays when it came down to it to get the win.
Yeah, they got some, big-time weapons. Number 4 is a kid doing, I think, the Duke, and, their quarterback got hot there for a little bit and got him outside the pocket, and, again, we were able to just make the plays when we needed to. I don't think they were able to consistently get moving. We were going to be a little tired there at the end, but guys, stood up and made the plays when they had to, and, they like to get on the edge there a lot with 6, and we were able to put some pressure on them and force some bad throws in the, kind of critical moments when we needed to.
Now, Coach, from watching you guys, you're 3-0 now and really been putting up some points with, as you said, a high-tempo type attack. I guess, one, is that something that you've always kind of favored when it comes to the offensive way of things?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what what I've been around here for some time, being in Southern California and then in college for a few and then out this way. We spent a lot of times, back in the day there with Coach Kelly out in Oregon and, Gus Malzahn, some of those guys that I visited back in my California days. And, I've always kind of favored that. I like the cat, it's exciting. Our guys like it, and it's our these kids' second year in the system and really taking hold. Coach Matuzak, my offensive coordinator, has done a great job of, melding what I like and some of the things he's done as well. So, it's really coming together. Mark Ellis, the quarterback's doing a great job managing the game. Our line, we got 4 seniors up front, so they get it. They're physical. They play after, they get after guys. And, so it's, really coming together as far as that goes. I mean, we left some out there. We had a double pass. We, just missed for a touchdown and boxed the 4th down there where we had the finishes, so we really left some points out there on the board. But that was credit to Briarwood playing stingy defense and going. And, we just got to keep building and keep getting better. For us, it's 1-0 each week. It's a faceless opponent. It doesn't matter who we play. It's really about us and our execution and how we play. That's what these kids are buying into and working on. And, we'll get back at it tomorrow at 10, watch the film, get on some prowlers, and get back to the grind and enjoy it tonight and get ready for Lake Braddock for next week.
Yeah, and of course, Coach, I couldn't let you go by without talking a bit about the Bruins. I want you to enjoy the win tonight because it's big, but obviously you got a quality opponent in Lake Braddock coming up. Any thoughts very, very early on about the Bruins and what they bring to the table?
Sure. Well, I mean, tradition, if anything, they're just used to winning and being successful. We played them early last year as our first game, and so we're excited about the opportunity. But like I said, I mean, it's that, this is the one we got this week. So it's not, we're not going to do anything special for them that we didn't do for Briarwood or Edison or Langley. It's about us and, and competing and playing and doing our job, playing hard, being physical, loving each other up and doing that, playing and play out and, take each day as it comes. We're excited about that opportunity. And, I told our kids to enjoy it tonight, but, we're 0-0 in the Patriots, you know what I mean? So we haven't done anything there. And, so we're going to enjoy it tonight, but we got to get to work. And, Lake Braddock's a great team. They're traditionally strong and, they're going to, play awesome and play great and tough. And, Coach Process there does a great job. And, just excited for the opportunity to be able to play them, so
and
we'll give them our best, see where it goes.
Coach, one more for you. Obviously, you're in that tough district. You got Lake Braddock, you got the other teams like South County and also West Springfield up and coming. But where your team is right now, coming off a 4-6 season last year, how do you feel about the building of the West Potomac program right now?
No, I mean, I think, like I said, our kids are buying in. I mean, it's year two, obviously, in the program and what I've kind of brought to West Potomac, and I'm just. I'm grateful and thankful to have a bunch of young men that are, buying in, and we've had a great off season. That's where it starts really for us in the weight room. We continue to push it and, keep grinding and getting better. And, like I said, it's going to be a tough district. I mean, there's some great teams, across the board. All of them are getting better. And, but our kids have just really fought in and they're playing hard. And, I'm excited about I just love watching these guys go out and compete every week. I just love being around them at practice, each and every day. And, like I said, they're just buying into what we're selling right now and playing hard. And, so they're a fun group to coach. And, it's a pleasure and an honor to be their head coach and be the head coach of West Potomac.
Well, obviously, you're doing a good job by them. Jeremiah Ross, head coach of West Potomac, his team with a 29-27 win over Briarwood tonight. Coach Ross, congratulations, and thanks so much for joining us on the show.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
And Coach Ross, obviously, his team 3-0 on the season and playing some very good football, that up-tempo offense, and beating a pretty quality team in Briarwoods that's struggling a little bit right now. But obviously, they've got a lot. If you remember, first week of the season, they were able to go ahead and really take Tuscarora down to the wire. Tuscarora maybe looking like one of the top teams in the Loudoun County area. Obviously, they are one of the top teams in the area. We'll see who gets supremacy between them and Stonebridge and Broad Run. Should be a heck of a race out there, but obviously going to be a heck of a race as well down in Conference 7 when you talk about the fact South County, West Potomac, West Springfield, Lake Braddock, all going to be fighting it out for that title down there. And then, of course, they'll have to probably all see each other later on in the playoffs. So it should be an interesting one when all those schools meet up. Should be some very, very good football games this year. Well, we're going to go ahead and take another break. We'll be back after this with a complete rundown of the scoreboard. We'll also hear from the head coach of the Howard Lions, Bruce Strunk, his team, his ranked squad at number 19 this week in the All-Met Sports Poll. Big win over Howard County rival River Hill. We'll do all that coming up in just a bit. Remember, you want to get in touch with us, do it via Twitter at DMVStream, hashtag it with DMV Final Drive. Again, that's DMVStream, hashtag it with DMV Final Drive. More of the Final Drive coming up right after this. Looking for some of the best barbecue in the area? Well, then come on down to Monk's. Monk's Barbecue has all your favorites: delicious pulled pork, tender, moist brisket, and dry rubbed ribs that just fall off the bone, as well as specialty items like pulled chicken, pastrami, and Kansas City burnt ends. Add in delicious sides like Monk's special baked beans, smoked Gouda mac and cheese, vinegar coleslaw, and many more, and you can't get any better. That's Monk's Barbecue in the heart of Loudoun County, online at monksq.com. That's monks and the letter Q.com. And go to their Facebook page to find out more about their live music and drinks.
DMVSTREAM.com produces live broadcasts for professional, semi-pro, and amateur sporting events, as well as colleges, universities, high schools, AAU, and youth tournaments in the Mid-Atlantic. With a client list that includes ESPN, The Washington Post, Monumental Sports Network, CBS.com, USAFootball.com, USLacrosse.org, NCAA.com, the National Federation of High School Sports, and Georgetown University, among others, Synthesis Multimedia has emerged as the Mid-Atlantic's top provider of sports multimedia. Contact us today to learn more about streaming your events live.
Are you a fan of high school sports? Does high school sports attract the type of customers you want for your business? If so, then consider advertising here on The Final Drive. The Final Drive on DMVStream.com is a weekly show dedicated to high school football in the District, Maryland, and Virginia. We update scores and talk to the movers and shakers from Friday night's top games, and we preview the big matchups from Saturday's action. So consider being a part of The Final Drive. For more information about advertising on The Final Drive, contact Jeremy Huber at jrh0001@gmail.com. That's jrh0001@gmail.com. Montgomery Shade and Awning is a third-generation family business that sells and installs shade systems utilizing awnings and canopies. They specialize in both commercial and residential awnings and have been serving Northern Virginia since 1975. So check out what Rob, Lewis, Brian, and Tom can do for you. Montgomery Shade and Awning. Call 1-800-300-1941 or find them online at montgomeryawning.com. And welcome back into the final drive. Again, another big night of high school football in the district, Maryland and Virginia. Yours truly, Jeremy Huber, taking you through every single bit of it on the tonight's slate. Again, not too much crazy stuff going on, but we did have some upsets. We'll talk all about them in just a second. Let's start right at the top, though, with the All-Met Sports Top 20. DeMatha coming back from a 12-3 halftime deficit to roll over LaSalle of Pennsylvania, 32-14. DeMatha, 4 second-half touchdowns in that one. Had a quick drive in the second half. Corey Sproul with a touchdown run. Then Lorenzo Harrison with a 15-yard touchdown run on 4th and 2 to go ahead and take their first lead since the early in the first quarter. And they were kind of on their way after that to beat LaSalle again, 32-12. So the top team in the area stays there as they win over a tough team from the Philadelphia area. Number 2, Good Counsel off. They play again next week against number 18, St. John's. Number 3, Damascus with a win tonight over Watkins Mill, 42-8. Damascus, again, kind of steamrolling folks after their big win over Quince Orchard earlier in the season. They've kind of got it rolling right now. Number 4, Lake Braddock struggled a bit as they ran out to a 21-0 lead, then held on to beat Robinson 21-14. Robinson scored a late touchdown, then onside kick there, but not able to go ahead and score late in the game, so the Bruins stay undefeated. Number 5, South County rolled over Hayfield 70-29. Number 6, Westfield in action tomorrow against TC Williams, looking to bounce back from their loss to South County last week. Number 7, Old Mill over South River 41-6. Old Mill take on Arundel next week in what should be a very good contest. Number 8, Duval, they're in action tomorrow against Parkdale. Number 9, Wise in action tomorrow against Potomac of Maryland and Oxon Hill. Our upset of the night, number 10, Centerville falls to number 16, Broad Run, 56-21. Meech Hembry, check these numbers out, had 5 touchdowns, 253 on the ground, also had an interception, had a saved touchdown down in the red zone for the Broad Run Spartans. Hembry got it done tonight. Number 11, Tuscarora, also of Loudoun County, beating Oakton tonight, 28-14. Tuskegee QB Daniel Smith had 3 total touchdowns in that contest. Number 12, Bullis falls to Woodbury Forest of Central Virginia in a shootout, 66-65 in OT. Dwayne Haskins, the Maryland-bound quarterback for Bullis, 442 through the air and 7 touchdowns. He actually beat out the quarterback for Woodbury Forest, Lindell Stone. He threw for 277 and 5 TDs. Really true good quarterback. Stone coming to Woodbury Forest out of the Dallas area, so he's expected to be a high-level quarterback recruit as well. Folks on hand at Bullis tonight got to see maybe a preview of what could be a college rivalry at some point. Number 13, Seneca Valley Oliver Churchill, 50-0. Number 14, Northwest beat Blair 58-23. It was number 15, Battlefield over Riverbend 13-10. So, Riverbend beating Battlefield 13-10. So Battlefield sustains their first loss of the season. Of course, Battlefield had some very good wins earlier on in the campaign, but they fall tonight. Actually, they beat Hilton to start their season, but Battlefield knocked off by Riverbend. Riverbend, of course, plays a little bit south down in the Fredericksburg area. So thrilling matchup, but Battlefield goes down, takes their first loss of the season by a score of 13-10. It was Quince Orchard over Wooten, 41-0. Also tonight, number 19, Howard over River Hill, 28-17. We'll hear from the head coach of the Howard Lions, Bruce Strunk, in literally just seconds. Also in the top 20, it was number 2, Stonebridge. They were a 42-28 winner over Chantilly. Joined now by the head coach of the Howard Lions, Bruce Strunk. His squad getting a big win tonight over River Hill, 28-17. Coach Strunk, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
congratulations on the big win tonight. And it's funny, we talked last year on the show after your win over River Hill, a game that came at near the end of the season, a 7-0 matchup. This one seemed to have a little bit of a difference when it came to the scoreboard. Was the style of play any different in this one tonight?
I don't think it was a hard fought game of both sides. It was different in the fact that different characters on both teams. They're a well coached team, and our kids play hard, and it was just a good high school football game.
It seemed that way, obviously, kind of a little bit back and forth, you guys pulling away. But obviously, you kind of got an ace in the hole, and Malik Anderson had 2 touchdowns tonight. Talk a bit about what he was able to bring to the table for the Lions.
Oh, Malik Anderson is, this is my 27th year coaching, and he's probably the toughest kid that I've ever coached. He's 5'7", 160 pounds, and he's just tough as nails. And he takes shots and he delivers shots, and he's like the Energizer Bunny. He just keeps on rolling.
Now, go ahead.
And he's a great character kid too. So.
Obviously, team leader for you guys, but it was funny talking a little bit before we got going in this one. You said that, hey, this was really a team effort tonight. Had a lot of guys make some big plays. Talk about the rest of the squad and maybe some guys who's shown to help you guys put you over the top against River Hill.
Well, our quarterback Casey Crawford, he's continuing. His first year as a starter. He's got all the tools to be a big time quarterback, and he's learning each and every game. He's taking more charge of the offense. Cameron Carlisle had another touchdown catch tonight. Great catch. Kid hit him low and kind of landed on the kid, but got up and kept on going because his knees never touched it. It was good, just good hustle, heads up effort by him. Bryson Craven had a great interception tonight that took the ball down to the 7-yard line, and then we punched one in. So, like I said, everybody kind of took a turn and contributing, and and hats off to River Hill. I mean, they're a well coached heart. They had a lot of kids going both ways, and they just didn't have any quit in them. And like I said, very good high school football game.
Most definitely, their big win over Glen Elk last week, and but obviously your guys able to at least slow them down on the offensive end and give enough for your offense to kind of get out in front. Talk a bit about your team's defensive performance tonight.
Well, defense, we didn't play our best. We had a couple of our starting linebackers were out all week, and really didn't get that many reps versus in preparation, and at times they kind of played like it tonight, but they got a little healthier, and they fought and they did what they had to do. So it was just one of those things. And I told the guys after the game, we have to do a better job, with our scout team mimicking another team. I don't think we had the best. We did the best job this week doing that, but we have a very young team. We have 30 kids out of the 50 kids on our team, 34 coming back next year. So we're real young, and at times we played young tonight, but we played hard. And as a high school coach, that's what we ask for.
Most definitely. Bruce Strunk joining us here, the head coach of the Howard Lions, getting a win tonight, 28-17 over River Hill. And Coach, kind of one, not off the path, but looking around and out in Howard County, you've already seen some upsets early in the year. Wild Lake pulled the big upset. Of course, River Hill beats Glen Elk last week, kind of moving around. Does it seem to you a little bit, and obviously a lot of people peg your team as the favorite, but do you think there's a lot of parity out in Howard County this year?
Yeah, there's definitely parity out here. When I was being interviewed preseason by a lot of the media, Reservoir is as good as anybody else. Glen Elk can beat anybody else. Oakland Mills is very, very good football team. River Hill's a good football team. We're a good football team. Hammond's a good. I mean, I'm a little more surprised that not everybody has a loss by now. I mean, it's a meat grinder league this year. I don't think anybody's heads above the rest. And, it's fun. It's, nobody wants to, walk through an easy game. This forces everybody to see what they're made of. And there's a bunch of different styles that kind of match up differently. And Wild Lake, they lost 15-11, I think it was tonight to Glenelg. There's just a lot of parity.
Well, obviously, you guys have navigated that parity pretty well so far, running out to 3-0 mark. And again, Coach Strunk, congratulations on the win tonight, and thanks so much for joining us on the show.
Hey, thank you for everything you do for high school sports.
And Coach Strunk, obviously his team, a very, very good performance tonight to knock off a squad in River Hill that they're always kind of tooth and nail. We referred to it a bit in the interview, a 7-0 win last year. Well, this one a little bit bigger, but again, still a quality win for Howard as they stay undefeated out in Howard County. Let's go ahead and run down the rest of the scores for you on the time we have left on the show. Avalon getting a win tonight over Liberty Christian, 21-11. It was Bishop Ireton all over St. Albans, 62-29. St. Mary's Vanappolis over Delmar, 27-25. John Carroll beat Pilati, 49-26. It was Maryland School for the Deaf over Kingsman Academy tonight, 55-8. Landon fell to Loyola Blakefield, 19-14. Spalding big over Riverdale Baptist tonight, 47-7. St. Stephen's St. Agnes over Severn School, 30-0. Ballou beat McKinley, 42-13. Jamal Speaks 4 touchdown runs for Ballou. Bell over Anacostia, 18-14. Coolidge beat Theodore Roosevelt, 34-0. It was Dunbar over Phelps big, 56-0. Wilson beat Eastern, 38-zip. Stephen Williams, the Wilson quarterback, had 307 through the air and 5 touchdown passes. Cesar Chavez over Cardoza, 53-7. It was John Paul the Great over Riverside, 45-12. Reservoir over Atherton, 24 to 14. Clarksburg beat Bethesda Chevy Chase, 47-12. Broadneck over Annapolis tonight, handing the Panthers their first loss of the season, 41-16. North Point over Calvert, 34-19. Arundel big over Chesapeake, 48-0. That sets up battle of 3-0s out in Anne Arundel County next week as Old Mill will take on Arundel. Should be a big one out there. Glenelg over Wild Lake in a close one, 15-11. Hammond over Mount Hebron, 30-3. It was Northern over La Plata, 36-17. Lackey beat St. Charles, 13-7. Sherwood over Magruder, 48-29. Marriott's Ridge over Longreach by a count of 21-0. Chopticon over McDonough, 27-7. It was Meade over North County, 19-12. Meade getting their first win of the year. Remember losing longtime coach Rich Holzer to Mount St. Joe's in the off season. So big win for Meade to kind of get off the schneid. Oakland Mills big over Centennial, 48-6. It was Paint Branch with a sloppy one, but they get the win over Gaithersburg, 21-13. Patuxent over Great Mills in their contest tonight by a count of 43-0. Elsewhere, Richard Montgomery over Rockville, 54-26. Reports of a fight at that one where arrests were made. Obviously don't want to see that there on the scene, but again, reports that there were some fighting out there that police had to be called and maybe some arrests made. Fighting among students, according to the reports, I believe, from Fox 5. Severna Park over Glen Burnie, 7-6. It was Northeast over Southern, 19-14. Springbrook beat Northwood, 56-18. Walter Johnson over Kennedy, 22-19. It was Westlake over Huntingtown, 40-3. Blake beat Wheaton, 36-14. Whitman over Einstein, 54-41. Poolsville beat Winters Mill, 24-13. Over in Virginia, it was Annandale over Stewart, 37-17. While Woodgrove shut out Dominion, 40-0. An impressive win for the Wolverines. W.T. Woodson ran out to a big lead, then held off Fairfax, 36-25. Herndon over Falls Church, 28-14. Forest Park big over Stonewall Jackson, 50-20. Heritage moves to 4-0 on the year as they beat Freedom South Riding, 47-7. Garfield falls to Osborne, 60-30. So Eagles head coach Chris Samuels, the former All-Pro Redskins tackle, gets his first win as the head coach of the Osborne Eagles. Hilton over Osborne Park, 40-0. It was Potomac Falls over Langley, 26-6. Champ beat Loudoun Valley, 40-13. Luray over George Mason, 12-7. It was Madison over McLean, 30-0. Marshall beat Edison, 30-20. Massaponax over Freedom of Woodbridge, 48-20. Mount Vernon knocks off Jefferson, 40-18. Rockridge over Parkview, 26-21. So Rockridge, in their first year of varsity play, gets their second win of the season. It was South Lakes over Yorktown, 25-14 tonight. Brentsville moves to 4-0 on the season. They beat Warren County 28-14. Wakefield over Washington Lee 13-0. West Potomac knocks off Briar Woods 29-27. Also, West Springfield over Lee 34-7. And it was Woodbridge over Patriot 48-7. So that almost does it here for us on the final drive. Real quickly, I want to go ahead and run down your games tomorrow in case you want to get out and catch a game. 1 o'clock starts tomorrow. O'Connell hosting Fork Union. Mount Carmel of Maryland will be at Annapolis Area Christian, while T.C. Williams hosts Westfield tomorrow as the Bulldogs look to get back on the right foot after their loss to South County last week. Lots of 2 o'clock starts tomorrow, including Flint Hill hosting Blue Ridge. Bowie will be at Suitland. Bladensburg hosting C.H. Flowers. Duval, of course, ranked up in the top 10. They'll be taking on Parkdale tomorrow. Northwestern hosts Eleanor Roosevelt. Friendly will be at Douglas. Douglas looking for their first win of the season after those 2 tough ones to start the year, facing off against Wise and Riverdale Baptist. It'll be Friendship Collegiate at Delaware Valley Charter High School. Also, 2 o'clock starts for Georgetown Prep and Gonzaga, resuming their long-standing rivalry. 2 o'clock tomorrow was originally the scheduled time for Gwynn Park and Forestville, but the Forestville is going to get the win via forfeit in that one, as Gwynn Park elected to forfeit the game due to several players being handed 1-game suspensions for leaving the sidelines in a win over Crossland last week. According to the Washington Post report, 68 players were suspended, including star quarterback Aaron Parker. So Gwynn Park going to take the forfeit and give it over to Forestville. Could be a big win for Forestville via forfeit, as again, you'd think Gwynn Park, once they get everybody back, should have a pretty good season. So we'll see how that goes for Forestville when it comes down to playoff time. High Point over Laurel, also 2 o'clock start. Same for Potomac School hosting Mercersburg Academy. Oxon Hill at Crossland. Episcopal hosting Paul VI at 2 o'clock. Also 2 o'clock starts for Suratsville at Central and Wise at Potomac of Maryland, as we said a little bit in the top 20. Fairmont Heights will host Largo on a 4 o'clock start tomorrow. Also a 5 o'clock start as National Collegiate will face off against Murray at Murray. So that's going to do it for the show tonight. I want to go ahead and thank all of our guests. Again, it was another great show, and we could only have a great show if we get the guests, the high school coaches, the fine ones, getting in touch with us. Again, thank you to Bruce Strunk of Howard, his team with a big win over River Hill tonight. Mike Neubiser, the head coach of the Northwest Jaguars, his team a winner over Blair. Also, Matt Griffiths of Broad Run, his team with an emphatic upset of Centerville tonight. And also tonight it was Jeremiah Ross of West Potomac, his Wolverines knocking off Briar Woods to move to 3-0 on the season and get their season going on the right foot. Again, I'm Jeremy Huber. Thank you so much for listening. This is The Final Drive on DMVSTREAM.com. We'll see you next week.